Greetings, Israel. Today I want to discuss 2Esdras chapters 4 through 9, and I find the dialogue pretty interesting in the Good News translation. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of this translation overall, but I found this particular translation pretty interesting. So let's begin. Okay, this is 2Esdras chapter 4 GNTA, or Good News translation. So let's begin. The angel Uriel, who had been sent to me, replied, "You can't even understand what happens in this world. Do you think you can understand the ways of God Most High?" "Yes, sir, I do," I answered. The angel continued, "I have been sent to ask you to solve 3 riddles about what happens in this world. If you can explain even one of them to me, I will answer your questions about God's ways and teach you why the human race has an evil impulse." "I agree, sir," I said. Then he said to me, "Good. How do you weigh out a pound of fire? How do you measure a bushel of wind? How do you bring back a day that has passed?" I answered, "Why do you ask me such questions? No human being could answer them." Then he said, "What if I had asked you how many dwelling places there are at the bottom of the sea? How many rivers flow into the waters beneath the earth? How many rivers are there above the dome of the sky? Where are the exits from the world of the dead? Where are the entrances to paradise?" If I had asked you these questions, you might have answered, "I have never gone down into the waters beneath the earth, and I have not yet entered the world of the dead. I have never gone up to heaven. But all I have asked you about is fire, wind, and the day that has just passed, things that you have experienced. Yet you have given me no answer. You can't even understand things that you have been familiar with since you were a child. How then can your little mind understand the ways of God Most High? Can someone already worn down by this corrupt world understand the ways of the incorruptible God?" When I heard this, I fell face downward on the ground and said to him, "It would have been better if we had never been born than to have to live in a world of sin and suffering without understanding why things happen as they do." The angel Uriel answered, "I once went into the woods and heard the trees plotting together. They were saying, 'Let's go to war against the sea and push it back, so that we may have more room.' But the waves of the sea also plotted together and said, 'Let's conquer the woods and extend our territory.' But all of the plotting of the trees was useless because fire came and destroyed them. And the plotting of the sea was just as useless because the sand stood firm and blocked its advance. Now, if you were the judge and had to decide between them, which would you pronounce right?" I replied, "They were both wrong, because trees belong on the land and waves belong on the sea." "You have given the right answer," he said. "So why can't you see the answer to your own problems? For just as trees have their place on land and waves have their place in the sea, so the people of this world can understand only what goes on in this world, and only heavenly beings can understand what goes on in heaven." "Please tell me, sir," I asked, "why then was I given the ability to understand anything? I am not interested in asking questions about what goes on in the heavens. I am only concerned about things that go on around us. Why has God allowed Israel to be disgraced by foreign nations? Why has he let the nation he loves be handed over to the power of godless nations? Why do the law and the covenant that were given to our ancestors mean nothing anymore? Why do we die as quickly as insects? Why is our life shorter than a breath? Why does God think us unworthy of his mercy? Why doesn't God do something to help his own people? These are the questions that I want to ask. Uriel answered, "If you live long enough, you will be surprised at what you will see, because this age is rapidly passing away." This age is so full of misery and imperfection that it cannot hold all the blessings that God has promised the righteous in the time to come. The evil about which you have asked me has already been planted, but the time for its harvesting has not yet arrived. This evil must be harvested, and this world where it was planted must be removed before the new age where the good is to be planted can appear. At the beginning of time, one grain of evil seed was sown in the heart of Adam. See how much wickedness it has already produced? Think of how much more it will produce before it is cut down and threshed out all at Judgment Day. You can see for yourself what a big crop this one evil seed has produced. How terrible will be the harvest on Judgment Day when these countless heads of grain are threshed out. Then I asked, how long do we have to wait before this happens? Why are our lives so short and so full of misery? Uriel answered, don't be in a greater hurry than God Most High. You are thinking only of yourself, but God has to be concerned about everybody. Your questions are the same ones asked by the souls of the righteous dead in the place where God is keeping them waiting. How long must we wait here? When will the day of judgment come when we will get our reward? The archangel Jeremiah answers them, it will happen as soon as the complete number of those who have suffered as you have are here. For God has weighed this age, measured the years, and numbered the days. Nothing will be changed until time has run its predetermined course. But, sir, I replied, all of us here on earth are such wicked sinners. Is it possible that because of our sin, the righteous dead are having to wait for their reward? His answer was, can a pregnant woman keep her child from being born after her 9 months are up? No, sir, she cannot, I answered. And he continued, in the world of the dead, the place where God has stored the souls is like a womb. It is as eager to return the souls entrusted to it from the beginning of the world as a woman is to end her labor pains. When that happens, you will have the answer to all your questions. Please, sir, I asked, if you think I am able to understand it, can you tell me one more thing? I find this conversation with Ezra and Uriel pretty interesting. You know, I think many of us had similar questions as Ezra, but it's interesting, right? This translation. Okay, let's continue. Is the time that is still to come longer than the past that has already gone by? I know how long the past has been, but I don't know the future. Come here and stand at my right, he commanded, and I will show you a vision and explain its meaning. So I stood by him and looked, and I saw a blazing fire pass by in front of me, and when it was gone, I saw that smoke was still there. Then a rain cloud passed by in front of me, bringing a heavy downpour of rain. And when the downpour was over, there was still a light rain. Think about this, said Uriel. Just as the downpour was greater than the light rain that followed it, and the fire was greater than the smoke left behind, in the same way, the time that has passed is much longer than the time to come. The time that is left is like the light rain and the smoke. Please tell me, I asked, do you think I will live until that time? If not, who will be alive when it happens? He answered, I can tell you some of the signs of the end, if that is what you are asking about, but I am not here to tell you how long you will live, and in any case, I don't know. Chapter 5. But these are the signs. The time will come when all people on earth will be in the grip of great confusion. The way of truth will be hidden, and no faith will be left in the land. Wickedness will increase until it has become worse than you have ever known it to be. The country that you now see ruling the world will lie in ruins, with no inhabitant or traveler there. After that, if God Most High lets you live long enough, you will see that country in confusion. The sun will suddenly start shining at night and the moon in the daytime. Blood will drip from trees, stones will speak, nations will be in confusion, the movement of the stars will be changed. A king unwanted by anyone will begin to rule, and the birds will fly away. Fish will be washed up on the shores of the Dead Sea. The voice of one whom many do not know will be heard at night. Everyone will hear it. The earth will break open in many places and begin spouting out flames. Wild animals will leave the fields and forests. At their monthly periods, women will bear monsters. Fresh water will become salty. Friends everywhere will attack one another. Then understanding will disappear, and reason will go into hiding, and they will not be found even though many may look for them. Everywhere on earth, wickedness and violence will increase. One country will ask a neighboring country if justice or anyone who does right has come that way, but the answer will always be no. At that time, people will hope for much, but will get nothing. They will work hard, but will never succeed at anything. These are the signs of the end that I am permitted to show you. But if you begin to pray again and continue to weep and fast for 7 more days, you will hear even greater things. Then I woke up and I was trembling violently. I was so disturbed that I was about to faint. But the angel that had come to talk with me took hold of me, strengthened me, and set me on my feet. The next night, Phaltiel, who was a leader of the people, came to me and asked, "Where have you been? And why do you look so sad? Don't you know that the people of Israel in the land of their exile have been put in your care? So get up and eat. Do not abandon us, like a shepherd leaving his flock to the attacks of savage wolves. Leave me alone," I answered. "Do not come near me for the next 7 days. Then come back." So he left. Then, crying and mourning, I fasted 7 days, as the angel Uriel had commanded me to do. At the end of the 7 days, I was again deeply troubled. But I recovered my ability to think, and again I began to speak with God Most High. "Lord and Master," I said, "from all the forests and plants on earth, you have chosen this one vine. From all the countries of the world, you have chosen this one small land. From all the flowers in the world, you have chosen this one lily. From all the water in the deep oceans, you have filled up this one river. From all the cities that have ever been built, you have set apart this one city, Jerusalem, as your own. From all the birds that were created, you chose this one dove. From all the animals that were made, you chose this one lamb. From all the nations of the world, you chose this one nation to be your own. And you gave its people your law, which is honored by people everywhere. And now, Lord, since all of this is true, why have you dishonored this one people more than all others by handing them over to many nations? Why have you scattered your own people, who believed in your covenants? Why have you let them be trampled by people who rejected your promises? If you are so angry with your own people, you yourself ought to punish them." When I had finished speaking, the angel who had come to me on a previous night was sent to me again. He said, "Listen carefully to me, and I will teach you more." "Please go on, sir," I said. So he continued, "Are you worried about the people of Israel? Do you think you love them more than God who made them?" "No, sir," I replied. "I spoke as I did because I was so confused and upset." I am always troubled whenever I try to think about the ways of God Most High, or to understand even a small part of what he does. You cannot understand, he answered. And I asked, why not, sir? In that case, why was I born? Why didn't I die before I was born? Then I wouldn't have seen the sufferings and troubles of the people of Israel. The angel said to me, I will answer you if you can do the following things. Tell me how many people are yet to be born. Collect scattered raindrops for me. Make dead flowers bloom again. Open the rooms where the winds are locked up and make them blow for me. Show me the picture of a sound. If you can do these things, I will answer your questions about the sufferings of the people of Israel. I answered, Lord and Master, no one can do these things except God, who is not confined to this world. How can I give you any kind of answer? What do I know? He continued, you could not do even one of the things that I asked you to do. How can you expect to understand God's judgments on why God has promised his love to his people? Then I said, but Lord God, your concern is with the people who will be alive at the end of the world. What will happen to those who live before that time? What about us? What about those who came before us and those who will live after us? He answered me, the final judgment can be compared to a circle. And just as a circle has no beginning or end, so those who come early will not be too early, and those who come late will not be too late. I replied, but couldn't you have created all human beings, those of the past, the present, and the future, so that they would all live at the same time? In that way, you could have had your final judgment sooner. He answered, the creation cannot move faster than the Creator. And besides, the world wouldn't have been able to hold all the people if everyone had been created at the same time. Why then, I asked, did you just now tell me that one day you would bring back to life at the same time every creature that ever lived in the world? If the world can hold them all then, it can hold them now. He answered, that would be like asking a woman who has given birth to 10 children why she didn't have them all at once instead of one at a time. That would be impossible, I answered. She can't have them all at once. In the same way, he continued, I have made the world like a womb so that it produces human beings at regular intervals. The rule that neither a young child nor an old woman can give birth to a baby also applies to the world that I have created. Then I said, since you have brought up the subject, may I ask if the world you have been talking about is still young, or is it approaching old age? He replied, you can learn the answer from any woman who has given birth to several children. Ask her why her younger children do not grow as tall as her older children. She will tell you that those born while she was young and healthy are much stronger than those born when she was getting old and becoming weak. You will notice that you are smaller than people of earlier generations. Those who come later will be smaller still. This shows you that creation is already getting old and losing the strength of her youth. If you please, Lord, I asked, will you show me the one through whom you will bring judgment on your creation? Chapter 6. He said to me, I made this decision before I created the world. Before the gates of the world were standing, before the winds were brought together to blow, or the lightning flashed, or the thunder rolled, before the foundations of paradise were laid, or the beautiful flowers appeared, before the powers that moved the stars were established, or the armies of the angels assembled, before the air was piled up high, or the divisions of the heavens given their name, before I chose Mount Zion as my footstool, before the present age was planned, or the scheming of its sinners was rejected, or my seal was placed on those who obeyed the law and laid up a treasure of faithfulness. Even then I decided that since I, and I alone, had created the world, I and I alone would bring it to an end. Then I asked, how long a period of time will divide the ages? When will the first age end and the next age begin? He answered, the interval will be no longer than that between Abraham and Abraham. He was the grandfather of both Jacob and Esau, and when they were born, Jacob was holding Esau's heel. Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the new age. So if Jacob's hand is the beginning and Esau's heel is the end, do not try to find a space in between. Lord and Master, I said, please hear my request. On that earlier night, you showed me some of the signs of the end. Now please show me the rest. Stand up, he said, and you will hear a very loud voice. If the place where you are standing is violently shaken while the voice is speaking, don't be afraid. The message will be about the end of the world, and the foundations of the world will understand that the voice is speaking about them. They will tremble and quake because they know that they will undergo a change when the end comes. When he said this, I stood up and listened. I heard a voice that sounded like a roaring river. It said, the time is near when I will come to judge the people living on earth. I will punish those who have hurt others with their injustice. Jerusalem's humiliation will come to an end, and this age, which is about to pass away, will have the final seal put on it. Then I will give the following signs. The books will be opened across the sky for all to see. Children only, a year old, will speak. Pregnant women will give birth after only 3 or 4 months, and their premature babies will live and run about. Planted fields will suddenly become bare, and full barns will suddenly become empty. Then the trumpet will sound, and sudden terror will grip the heart of everyone when they hear it. Friends will fight like enemies, and the earth and its people will be terrified. Rivers will stop flowing and stand still for 3 hours. Those who survive all these things that I have predicted will be rescued when I bring to an end this world that I created. They will see those who never died but were taken up alive into heaven. The hearts and minds of people on earth will be changed. Evil will be destroyed and deceit eliminated. Faith will grow strong. Corruption will be overcome, and truth, which has not produced fruit for so long, will make its will make itself felt again. While the voice was speaking, the ground beneath me began to rock back and forth. Then the angel said to me, these are the things that I have come to show you tonight. Now, if you will pray and fast for 7 more days, I will come back and tell you even greater things, because God Most High has heard your prayer. The mighty God has seen the pure and righteous life that you have lived since your youth. That is why he has sent me to show you all these things, and to tell you not to be afraid, but to trust him. Do not be so quick to raise useless questions in the present age. Then you will not be so quick to do so in the final age. After that, I mourned and fasted for 7 more days, as I had done before, and so I completed the 3 weeks of fasting that I had been commanded to observe. On the 8th night, I was again deeply troubled, and I began to speak to God Most High. I was very tense, and my heart was uneasy, but I said, O Lord, at the beginning of creation you spoke the word. On the first day you commanded, let the universe be made, and your word carried out that command. At that time the Spirit was moving, darkness and silence were everywhere, and no human voice was yet heard. Then you commanded that a ray of light shine out of the room where it was stored, so that your works could be seen. On the 2nd day, You created the angel of the sky and commanded him to separate the water, so that part of it would move up above the dome of the sky and part remain below. On the third day you commanded the water that covered the earth to come together in one place and cover 1/7 of the earth's surface. Then you dried out the rest of the earth's surface to make dry land, so that it might be cultivated and planted and used in your service. Your word went out and completed the work immediately. In an instant, all kinds of fruit and vegetables appeared, enough kinds to satisfy every taste. There were flowers of indescribable fragrances and of the most magnificent colors. These things were made on the third day. On the fourth day, the bright shining sun, the light of the moon, and the arrangement of the stars were created by your command. You commanded them to serve the human race which would soon be created. On the fifth day, you commanded the part of the earth covered by water to produce birds and fish, and it was done. At your command, the still and lifeless water brought forth living creatures, so that the nation might proclaim your wonderful works. Then you singled out 2 of the living creatures. You named one of them Behemoth and the other one Leviathan. You separated them from each other because the sea wasn't big enough to hold them both. You let Behemoth live on part of the land that you dried up on the third day of creation. It is a land of 1,000 mountains. You let Leviathan live in the sea. You kept them both alive so that your chosen people may feast on them at the time you choose. On the 6th day you commanded the earth to produce the animals, domestic and wild, large and small. More important than all of these, you created Adam and put him in charge of everything that you had made. And all of us, the people you have chosen, are descended from him. O Lord, I have told you all this because you said that you created this first world for the sake of your people. You said that in spite of their great numbers, all the other nations which descended from Adam are nothing, worth no more than a drop of water, no more than spit. But now, Lord, those nations that are considered as nothing are ruling over us and destroying us. We are your people, and you have called us your firstborn, your only child, your witness, your loved one, but we have been handed over to the power of these other nations. If this world was really created for the sake of your people, why don't we have possession of it? How much longer must we wait? Chapter 7. When I had finished speaking, the same angel that had been sent to me on the earlier night appeared again. He said, "Stand up, Ezra, and listen to what I have come to tell you." "Go ahead, sir," I said. He continued, "Picture in your mind a broad, immense sea spreading over a vast area, but with an entrance no wider than a river. No one who wishes to enter that sea, whether to visit it or control it, can reach it broad expanse of water without passing through the narrow entrance." Or take another example. Picture a city built on a plain. The city is full of all kinds of good things, but the entrance to it is narrow and steep, with fire on one side and deep water on the other. The one path between the fire and the water is so narrow that only one person at a time may walk on it. If anyone inherits this city, he cannot take possession of his inheritance without passing through this dangerous entrance. "That is right, sir," I said. "That is how it is with the people of Israel," he added. "I made this world for their sake. But when Adam broke my commands, the world came under my judgment. Then the entrances to this world were made narrow and difficult to travel. They were rough, dangerous, and few in number. But the entrances to the great world to come are wide and safe and lead to immortality. Everyone who lives must walk the narrow and meaningless ways of this world in order to receive the blessings stored up in the world to come. So Ezra, why are you upset and disturbed by thought that you are mortal and must die? Why don't you think about the age to come rather than the present age? I answered, Lord and Master, in your law you said that the righteous would receive all blessings, but that the wicked would perish. The righteous then can endure all the difficulties of this narrow way because they look forward to the broad and open life of the future. But the wicked must pass through the narrow way without any hope of seeing the broad open life. The angel replied, Do you think you are a better judge than God? Do you think you are wiser than God Most High? It is better to let many people of the present age perish than to allow them to neglect the law that God has given them. God has given clear commandments to everyone coming into this world, telling them what they should do to obtain life and to avoid punishment. But the wicked would not listen and refuse to obey him. In their foolishness, they have made their own wicked and deceitful plans. They denied the existence of God Most High and refused to follow his ways. They have rejected his law, refused to accept his promises, disobeyed his decrees, and failed to do what he commanded. That's the reason, Ezra, that there is emptiness for the empty and fullness for the full. The time is coming when these signs will take place. The invisible city will appear, and the land that is now hidden will be seen. Everyone who survives the calamities I have predicted will also see the wonderful things I will do. My son, the Messiah, will be revealed, together with those who come with him. He will bring 400 years of happiness to all these survivors. At the end of that time, my son, the Messiah, and all human beings will die. Then the world will return to its original silence, and for 7 days it will be like it was at the beginning. No one will be left alive. After 7 days, this corrupt age will pass out of existence, and a new age will be awakened. The ground will give up the dead who sleep therein silence, and the souls of the dead will be released from the places where they have been kept. God Most High will appear on his judgment seat. Mercy and patience will vanish completely. Mercy and patience will vanish completely. Heed that, people. And be replaced by judgment. Truth and faithfulness will once again stand firm. The good and the bad that people have done will be fully revealed, and reward and punishment will follow immediately. The pit of torment, the fires of hell will appear, and opposite them the paradise of joy and rest. Then God Most High will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, Look, I am the one whom you have denied and refused to serve. It is my command that you have rejected. Look around you. There is joy and peace in one direction, fire and torment in the other. That's what he will say to them on Judgment Day. On Judgment Day, there will be no sun, moon, or stars, no cloud, thunder, or lightning, no wind, water, or air, no darkness, evening or morning, no summer, spring, or winter, no heat, frost, or cold, no hail, rain, or dew, no noon, night, or dawn, no daylight, brightness, or light. The only thing will be the dazzling brightness of God Most High, making it possible for everyone to see. The judgment will last 7 years. That's the arrangement I have made for Judgment Day. But I have revealed these things only to you. Then I said, Lord, I repeat what I said earlier. How fortunate are the people who can live now and obey your commands. But what about those for whom I have been praying? There is no one in the present generation who has not sinned, no one who has not broken your covenant. Now I understand that the world to come will bring joy to only a few, but torment to many. The evil impulse within us has grown, and it has led us away from God's ways, brought us to ruin, put us on the way to death and destruction. and taken us far from life. It has destroyed not only a few, but almost everyone who was ever created. Listen to me, the angel said, and I will teach you further and correct your thinking, because only a few will be saved. God created two worlds instead of only one. As you say, only a few people are righteous, but there are large numbers of wicked people. But listen, if you had only a few precious stones, would you add lumps of lead and clay to them in order to have more? Surely no one would do that, sir, I answered. Take another illustration, he continued. The earth itself will give you an answer if you humbly ask it, whether it produces more gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, or clay. There is more silver than gold, more copper than silver, more iron than copper, more lead than iron, and more clay than lead. So judge for yourself which are more desirable and valuable, common things or rare things. I answered, Lord and Master, the common things are cheap. It is the rare things that are valuable. All right, he replied, so draw the logical conclusion. The person who has what is scarce has more reason to be pleased than the person who has what is plentiful. It's the same with the judgment that I have promised. I will be pleased with the few who will be saved, because they are the ones who now praise and honor me and make my name known. I will not be sad about the large number of people who will be lost, because even now they last no longer than a vapor. They disappear like fire and smoke. They catch fire, blaze up, and quickly go out. Then I said to the earth, look at what you have done. When you gave birth to the rest of creation, you gave birth to reason. It would have been better if you had never been created. Then we humans would never have had the power of reasoning. But as it is now, our reason grows up with us and then torments us because we realize that we are going to die. Compared to us, who must bear this sorrow, the dumb animals must be happy. They are much better off than we are. They do not have to look forward to the judgment. They are not aware of any torment or salvation that is promised to them after death. What good is it to us that we are going to be given life in the future if it is to be a life of terrible torment? Everyone who is born is caught in the web of sin, is full of wickedness and burdened with guilt. I think it would be better if after death we did not have to face judgment. The angel replied, when God Most High was creating the world, as well as Adam and his descendants, the first thing he did was to get everything ready for the judgment. So you ought to learn from your own words. You said that your reason grows up with you, and that's the point. The people of this world used their reason and sinned. They received God's commands but did not keep them. They accepted the law and then disobeyed it. And that's why they will suffer torment. What excuse can they offer at the judgment? How can they answer at the last day? God Most High has been very patient with the people of this world for a long time, but it has not been for their sake. He has done it for the sake of the age to come. Then I said, Sir, may I ask you, please, to explain to me what happens when we die? When each of us must give back our soul, will we be kept at rest until the time when you begin to make your new creation? Or will our torment begin immediately? I will answer that question also, he replied, but do not include yourself among those who will be tormented because they have no use for religion. After all, you have a treasure of good works stored up with God Most High, which will not be shown to you until the last days. But to answer your question about death, When God Most High has pronounced a final decree that a person shall die, the soul leaves the body to return to the one who gave it. Immediately it praises the glory of the God Most High. Let me explain first about people who had no use for the ways of God Most High and hated those who worshipped him. There is no place where their souls can go for rest. They must wander around forever in torment, grief, and sorrow. Their torment will progress in 7 stages. First, they ignore the law of God Most High. Second, they can no longer make a sincere repentance and obtain life. Third, they see the reward stored up for those who put their faith in the covenants of God Most High. Fourth, they think about the torment that has been stored up for them in the last days. Fifth, they see angels guarding the homes of other souls in complete silence. Sixth, they recognize that they must soon be tormented. Seventh, and worst of all, when they see the glory of God Most High, they are sick with remorse and shame. They cringe in fear because while they were living, they sinned against him. And now they are about to come before him to be judged on the last day. Now let me explain about those who follow the ways of God Most High, and what will happen when the time comes for them to leave their mortal bodies. While they lived on earth, through constant difficulty and danger, they served God Most High and carefully kept the law given by the lawgiver. This is what they will receive. They will rejoice when they see the great glory of God. He will receive them, and they will enter their rest in 7 stages of joy. The first joy is to have struggled hard and won the victory over the evil impulse which was formed in them, but which did not succeed in leading them from life into death. The second is to see the endless wandering of the souls of the wicked and the punishment that is waiting for them. The third is to know what a good report their Maker has given about them, that during their lifetime they kept the law that was entrusted to them. The fourth is to appreciate the rest that they are to enjoy in the places where they have been brought together, guarded by angels in complete silence, and with the glory that is waiting for them at the last day. The fifth is to rejoice that they have now escaped the corrupt world, and that they will receive the future life as their possession. They can see both the narrow, troubled world from which they have been freed, and the spacious world they will receive and enjoy forever. The sixth is to be shown how their faces will shine like the sun, and how they are to be like the light of the stars that never die. The seventh joy, and best of all, is when they rush to meet God face to face with perfect trust and happiness, without any fear of shame. They served him during their lifetime, and now they will receive from him their reward in glory. These rewards that I have been telling you about are those that have been prepared for the souls of the righteous. I described to you earlier the torment that the rebellious will suffer. Then I asked, when the souls of the righteous are separated from their bodies, will they be given time to see what you have told me about? They will be free for 7 days, he answered. And during that time, they will be able to see the things I have told you about. After that, they will be brought together with the other souls in their homes. Then I said, Sir, please tell me whether the righteous will be able to ask God Most High to show mercy on the unrighteous on Judgment Day. Will fathers be able to pray for their children, children for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for those near to them, and friends for those dear to them? I will be happy to tell you, he replied. Judgment Day is final and sets the final seal on truth for all to see. You know that in this age a father cannot send his son to be sick for him, or sleep, or eat, or be healed for him. An owner cannot send his slave to do these things for him, nor can a person send his best friend. In the same way, on that day, no one will be able to pray for another person. Each person will receive the punishment or reward for his own sinfulness or righteousness. If that is so, I answered, how can we explain what we find in the scriptures? Abraham prayed for the people of Sodom, and Moses for our ancestors who sinned in the desert. Later, Joshua prayed for the people of Israel in the time of Achan, and Samuel prayed for them in the days of Saul. David prayed at the time of the epidemic, and Solomon prayed for those who were going to worship in the temple. Elijah prayed that the people might have rain, and for a dead person to come back to life. Hezekiah prayed for the people during the time of Sennacherib, and there are many other examples. If righteous people prayed for the unrighteous during such times, when corruption increased and injustice multiplied, why won't the same thing happen at Judgment Day? The present age is not the end of everything, the angel answered. Even in this age, the glorious presence of God is not always seen. That is why the strong have prayed for the weak during this age. But the judgment day will be the end of the present age and the beginning of the future age. Then all corruption will end. Self-indulgence and disloyalty will be eliminated. Righteousness and truth will reach their full maturity. So on Judgment Day, no one will be able to have mercy on those who have been condemned, and no one will be able to harm those who have been acquitted. I answered, I made this point before and I will make it again. It would have been better if the earth had never produced Adam, or when it had done so, if it had made him so that he could not sin. What good is it for any of us to have life in the present age when it is full of misery and when all we can look forward to after death is punishment? Oh, Adam, what have you done? Your sin was not only your own downfall, it was also the downfall of all of us who are your descendants. What good is it to us that we have the promise of immortal life when we have committed sins that condemn us to death? What good is the hope of eternity when we find ourselves in such a completely hopeless situation? What good is it that safe and secure homes have been prepared for us in the future world when we have lived such wicked lives? What good is the promise that the glorious presence of God Most High will protect those who have lived pure lives when our own lives have been so full of sin? What good is it that paradise is shown to us, that its imperishable fruit can heal us and provide all we need? We can never go there because we have lived unacceptable lives. Isn't this an interesting conversation, people? I mean, Ezra getting real with the Lord, right? What good is it that the faces of those who practice self-control will shine more brightly than the stars when our own faces will be blacker than the night? Never in our whole lives, when we sin, did we think about what we would have to suffer after death. The angel replied, here is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure. If he is defeated, he must suffer the things you have just told me about. But if he is victorious, he will receive the rewards that I have just mentioned. That is why Moses long ago urged the people to choose life so that they might live. But they did not believe him or the prophets who came after him, and they did not believe me when I spoke to them. So the sadness over their destruction is nothing compared to the great joy over the salvation of those who believe. I answered, Sir, I know that God Most High is spoken of as merciful because he shows mercy to those who have not yet entered this world. He is called compassionate because he shows compassion to those who repent and obey his law. He is thought of as patient because he is patient with his own creatures who have sinned. He is known as generous because he prefers to give rather than to demand. And he is known as very forgiving because he continues to forgive sinners of the past, present, and future. If he did not continue to forgive, there would be no life for this world or the people in it. He is spoken of as pardoning because if it were not for his goodness in pardoning sinners, not one person in 10,000 would gain life. He is called Judge because he pardons and blots out the many sins of those who were created by this word. If he did not, by his word, If he did not, only a handful of the whole human race would be left. Chapter 8. The angel replied, God Most High made this world for many people, but the future world for only a few. Ezra, let me give you an illustration. If you ask the earth, it will tell you that it produces a large amount of clay for pots, but only a small amount of gold dust. And that's the way it is with the present world. Many have been created, but only a few will be saved. I said to myself, I must search for wisdom and try to understand. I was brought into this world without my consent, and I will leave it against my will. God has given me only a few short years as my span of life. Then I prayed, O Lord above, permit me, your humble servant, to offer this prayer. Plant a seed within us and let it grow until it produces new hearts and minds, so that sinful humanity may have life. For you alone are God, and you created all of us, as the scripture says. You give life and provide arms and legs to the body formed in the womb, where it is kept safe in the elements of fire and water. The body which you form is carried in the womb for 9 months, and you alone provide safety for the protecting womb and the protected body. Then, when the womb delivers what was created in it, your command produces milk from the breast of the human body. The infant you created is fed in this way for a while, and then you continue to provide your mercy. You raise the person on your righteousness, teach him your law, and discipline him with your wisdom. You are his creator, and as you wish, you can take away his life or allow him to live. But if you are so ready to destroy a person that was so carefully created at your command, why was he created in the first place? Now, Lord, I must say this. You may know what is best in regards to the rest of the human race, but I mourn for your own people. I am disturbed and grieved for your own nation Israel, the descendants of Jacob. So I want to pray for them and for myself, because I can see how all of us who live on this earth have failed. And I know that judgment will soon come upon us. So please hear me and listen to my prayer. The prayer that Ezra prayed before he was taken up into heaven begins here. He prayed, O Lord, you live forever, and the highest heavens are yours. Your throne is more wonderful than anything we can imagine. Your glory surpasses our understanding. The heavenly army of angels stands trembling before you. They are ready to turn themselves into wind or fire at your command. Your word is everlastingly true. Your mighty commands accomplish fearful things. With one look, you dry up the deep oceans, and you can melt the mountains with your anger. Your truth lasts forever. O Lord, you created me, and I am your servant, so listen to my prayer. As long as I have life and understanding, I cannot keep silent. Do not take account of the sins of your people, rather consider those who have served you faithfully. Pay no attention to godless people and what they do, but take into account those who have kept your covenant in spite of all their sufferings. Do not think about those who have lived wicked lives, but remember those who have gladly confessed you as God. Do not destroy your people because of those who have lived like animals, but be mindful of those who have taught your law in such a wonderful way. Do not be angry with those you consider worse than animals, but show your love to those who have always trusted in your glorious presence. It is true that we and our ancestors have lived our lives in ways that bring death, but it is because of us who are sinners that you are called merciful. You will surely be called merciful if you choose to take pity on us. We are sinners without any righteous deeds to our credit. Those who are righteous will receive their reward on the basis of the many good works that they have stored up with you. What are human beings that you should be angry with them? What is this mortal race that you should be so bitter against it? To speak the truth, no person was ever born who did not sin. There is no one living who is not guilty. Therefore, Lord, your righteousness and goodness will certainly be made known when you show your mercy to those who have no treasure or good deeds. The Lord answered me, part of what you have said is correct, and things will happen as you have indicated. You can be sure that I will give no thought to those who sinned or to their creation, death, judgment, or destruction. Indeed, I will find my joy in the creation of the righteous, their earthly journey, their salvation, and their final reward. Things will happen just as I have said. The farmer plants many seeds and puts out many plants, but not all of them take root or come up at the right time. That's the way it is with this world. Not everyone who has been placed in this world will be saved. Then I said, please let me speak. The farmer's seeds may not come up because you did not send rain at the right time, or it may be ruined by too much rain. But people are different. You formed them with your own hands. You created them to be like you, and you made everything for your benefit. How can you compare them to a farmer's seed? It's impossible, O Lord above. Spare the people who are your own. Have pity on them. Show your mercy to the people you have created. He answered, the present is for those who live now, and the future for those who are to come. You are certainly not able to love what I have created more than I do. Never again consider yourself among the unrighteous as you have done so often. Yet I am very pleased that you have shown proper humility and not boasted by thinking of yourself as righteous. The people of this world who have lived their lives in pride and arrogance will suffer many things in the last days. But Ezra, you should be thinking about the glory that is waiting for you and those like you. For all of you, paradise has been opened. The tree of life has been planted. The world to come has been made ready. All your needs have been provided. The heavenly city has been built. Full rest from your labors has been offered. Goodness and wisdom have been perfected. The source of evil has been sealed off so that it cannot reach you. All sickness has been removed. Death has been taken away. Hell is gone and corruption has disappeared. All suffering has been taken away, and the treasure of immortality is at last revealed. So don't ask any more questions about the large number of people who are lost. For when they had the opportunity to choose, they despised God Most High, had contempt for his law, and refused to follow his ways. In addition, they mistreated the righteous servants of God. They even said themselves that there is no God, although they knew that they must die. So the joys I have described are waiting for you, while thirst and torment are in store for them. But God Most High did not want anyone to perish. He created everyone and prepared life for everyone. But those he created dishonored the name of their Creator and were ungrateful to the one who offered them life. That is why the day on which I will judge them is near. I have made this known to you and a few others like you, but not to everyone. I answered, Sir, you have shown me many signs which you will perform in the last days. but you have not told me how I can know when this will happen. Chapter 9. He answered, Consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when God Most High will bring judgment on the world He has created. There will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers. When you see these things happening, you will know that they are what God Most High has spoken about since the beginning of creation. The beginning and the end of everything that happens in this world are clear. The same is true in the world above. Wonders and miracles show the beginning of events, and mighty signs show when they will end. Some people will escape destruction and be saved by their good works or by their faith. All of them will survive the dangers I have described and will enjoy the salvation provided in the land that I have set apart from eternity as my own. Then those who have ignored my ways and held them in contempt will be surprised when they find themselves in continual torment. This will include all those who ignore me while they were alive, even though they accepted the blessings I gave them. It will include all of those who scorn my law during the time they were free to do so, and all those who refused to repent when they still had the chance. The torment they will have to suffer after death will force them to recognize the truth. Therefore, Ezra, you should stop asking questions about how the wicked will be punished. Instead, be concerned about how and when the righteous will be saved. The world was created for them and belongs to them. I said, I must repeat what I said before. The lost far outnumber those who are saved. It is like a wave compared with a drop of water. He answered, The seed to be planted depends on the soil. The color of the flower depends on the kind of flower. The quality of a product depends on the skill of the worker, and the size of the harvest depends on how hard the farmer has worked. Before I created this world, or the people who would live in it, no one opposed me because no one existed. When I had created the world, I supplied it with an abundance of food and a law of profound wisdom, but the people I created lived corrupt lives. I looked at my world and I saw that it was ruined. I saw that my earth was in danger of being destroyed by the wicked plans of the people who had come into it. When I saw this, I found it very difficult to spare them, but I saved a few for myself. One grape out of a bunch, and one tree out of a great forest. So let them perish, all those people who were born only to be lost. But let my chosen people be kept safe, those for whom I worked so hard to bring to perfection. And now, Ezra, you must wait 7 more days, but do not fast this time. Go to the field of wild flowers, where no one has ever lived, and eat nothing but the flowers. Do not eat any meat or drink any wine. Pray the whole time to God Most High. Then I will come and talk with you again. I obeyed the angel's command and went to a field called Ardat. I sat there among the flowers and ate the wild plants, and that was enough for me. After 7 days I was lying on the grass, and once again my thoughts began to trouble me. Then I began to speak and said to God Most High, O Lord, you revealed yourself to our ancestors when they were traveling through the trackless barren desert after they had left Egypt. You said to them, Listen to me, people of Israel. I am giving you my law. It will be like a seed planted among you that produces fruit, and it will be your crowning glory forever. Our ancestors received the law, but they disobeyed its commands. Yet the fruit of the law was not destroyed. It could not be destroyed because it was yours. Those who had received the law were destroyed because they did not guard the good seed that was sown in them. The usual thing is that the container remains after its contents have been destroyed. For example, seed in the ground, a ship on the sea, or food in a bowl. But this is not the case with us sinners. The law was placed in our hearts, and we are the ones who will be destroyed because we have sinned. The law will not be destroyed. It will remain in all its glory. While I was saying these things to myself, I looked around and saw a woman on my right. She was weeping and wailing, terribly upset. Her clothes were torn, and there were ashes on her head. I immediately put my own troubles out of my mind, turned to the woman, and asked, "Why are you crying? Why are you upset?" "Please, sir," she answered, "leave me alone. Let me go on crying and mourning. I am bitter and depressed." "Tell me what's wrong," I said. She answered, "Sir, I was married for 30 years, but I was never able to have a child. During those 30 years, I prayed every day and every hour, day and night, to God Most High for a child. After 30 years, God answered my prayer. He saw my suffering, took away my distress, and gave me a son. What great joy this brought to my husband and me, and to all our neighbors. We sang the praises of Almighty. I brought our son up with the greatest care, and when he had grown, I chose a wife for him and prepared for the wedding." Okay, so I'm going to stop there. That's the end of chapter 9. Okay. So before I end, I wanted to just address a few things. First of all, I wanted to talk about why my brother and I created Tail Ministries and why we do what we do. I mean, first of all, you know, when we have the truth, we have to give it out. We have to put it out there, right? The truth of the Most High is the only thing that's important. But why is it that we're trying to do more right now? Well, we have a lot of people who like what we're doing and what we're teaching. And many people, not just one, but many actually have asked us to provide a place for them where we can fellowship. So like the social network at ning.com, right? We created that so they can have a feeling of a home because, you know, when we woke up to who we are and then we look and we realize that Eurocentric Christianity has lied to us, we're like, I can't be part of that, but I'm not going to deny my Messiah. And so where do I go? What do I do? And so that's where our people were. And so my brother and I were there too. You know, some of our people get really mad at the European Christians because of the lies and the hate that they have. And so we realize all the lies and hypocrisy. And so we have to deal with our emotions on that. And so, you know, understand that we're not void of those feelings. We deal with those feelings too. But, you know, we understand that how Satan plays the game. We're not ignorant of his devices. So we understand that there are many Gentile nations, right, that have people in those nations of people that love the Most High with all their heart. And so you'll see that, you know, they will be part of his kingdom and they will serve him and they bow the knee. And so it's important for us to explain to you guys or make it clear. If you're not bowing the knee to the Most High, you need to be concerned about what I just read. You need to be concerned about which side of the fence you're on in this debate, because you need to bow the knee. That's the only way to please the Most High. You need to bow the knee and submit, meaning you need to say, no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. It is the only way. It is the only way. And if you, so you can't, those emotions of hate and anger that you trying to struggle with, pray on it. Because that's what before we started teaching, I knew what was coming. I prayed on it because it's easy to get mad at the Gentiles. It's easy, right? Because they have taught us our own Bible, but then didn't live it out, right? And so their actions do not match what their words say. And so, you know, a lot of our people are seeing this and it just turns into anger. And so, you know, but you have to understand, Satan's right there plotting to deal with you. So, you know, even before we were going to wake up, Satan knew our people were going to wake up. So what did he do? I'm going to keep it real. What did he do? He already set up the camps to teach you lies, right? Because he knew you were going to wake up. So What did he do? He set up a bunch of men to wear costumes that look like superhero outfits in order to make you say, I'm not going to believe anything they say. And so these guys are actually telling you the truth of who you are as a people. But you will never receive it from them. Why? Because they dress in these outfits and they stand on street corners and they curse people out. And you're like, well, I'm not going to believe a word they say. So now you have to wonder, well, why didn't those guys dress up like, say, some of our people in Africa? They wear fringes, they have their hair covered, but they have believable outfits, not extreme outfits. They have believable outfits. It makes sense. They look like a righteous people, a religious people. And you're like, well, okay, our people over there have been doing it for hundreds of years, and they got fringes, they got their hair covered, but they look righteous. But then in America, they got these costumes on like they in a comic book. Well, okay, surely something's going on here. Surely something's not right. They're COINTELPRO, obviously, because everything they do is to push people away. One, they stand on the street corner. They curse people out. They say they're going to rape their children. You doing the work of the Most High? I don't think so. You're doing the work of the devil because you're standing on the street corner misrepresenting the Most High. You're supposed to be a beautiful people, a righteous people, right? So anyway, I say that because if you look at this conversation in this context, in this translation, it's a real heavy-duty conversation. And Ezra like, I'm not getting this. How about you just forgive us all? That's what he's saying. Look, how about you just forgive us all because we all sinners? And the Lord like, nah, I only want the jewels. I only want the gold. I want the rare items. And what's the rare items? The rare items are the people that bow the knee. The Lord say, if you love yourself more than him, you ain't worthy of him. Whew! You tell me that ain't serious. You got to bow the knee and say, I get it. I know who you are now. You are life. You are everything. You have given me life, breath. You have created my being, and everything I need comes from you. So guess what? He is the most important thing ever. So, this is why my brother and I keep telling you guys, we want you to learn the scriptures for yourself while you are in prayer. This battle is unreal, and Satan ain't no novice chess player. And my brother and I are pretty good, strong chess players, just to let you know. We're good, so, I ain't saying we super grandmasters, but we can play against some international masters, okay? But chess is unreal. I mean, the things that can happen on the chessboard. Same thing happens in life. Satan is playing a chess game that you don't even know you're in a chess game. You think you playing checkers. And he playing chess. And the Most High playing super grandmaster chess. So Satan already beaten, don't know it. You see? But it's a game that you can't even follow because you don't understand what's happening. But the bottom line is, you got to hang on to the garments of the Most High. Wherever he go, you follow. Whatever he say, you do. And that's why he say in love, you fulfill all the love, because you are showing who he is, right? A loving God who truly loves his creation, because you can look at his creation and he's a gentle God. Look at the world. Look at the sky. Look at the flowers. Look at the ocean. And all of us recognize that as beauty. And so we know who he is. We can see it by his creation, and he is a loving God. But if you understand this conversation in 2Esdras, he don't play. He don't play. And some of these people, we get messages from people. And they're mad at us because we say that Gentiles can be saved. And they're so hot. They're so mad. Because, only Israel could be saved. I'm like, well, he already cast you out. You have to be grafted back in. Your ancestors sinned against him and they had the law. I'm like, really? It didn't work the first time, so you better find out how to do it right this time. So the Lord said, well, look, I know you can't do it. You're an imperfect being in an imperfect body that's cursed with sin. So my son going to pay that price for you because you can't do it and you were going to go to hell. I was going to do it, fellas. But my son, he decided he gonna give up his life for you, and he's a perfect righteous being, and his blood can cover a multitude of sins. So come into my rest, my beautiful people. Deny yourself, repent of your sins, and follow me. And nobody want to listen to that message. Everybody want to be puffed up because they're Israel, but you forget. All throughout Israel, the prophets warned them about how wicked they are. But in the last days, there's a remnant that understands that they really got to live who they say they are. The Gentiles teach the scriptures. They don't live it. This is why they get judged. This is why we see some of the people that Ezra is talking about is some of those Gentiles as well who said, I did all these things. I'm trying to do right. I believe the scriptures, but I hate your people. And then some going to say, well, I don't hate your people, but I'm not going to help them. And so you support the system that works against your people. And you haven't looked at your heart to see that you lack empathy and sympathy. Okay, that's a problem. I mean, for those Gentiles who say they truly love the Lord, and for Hebrew Israelites, for those who say they truly love the Lord, you have to look at your heart and compare it to the Word of God. And you have to look at Jesus and compare yourself to him. You have to look at how the apostles walked after they met the Messiah and committed and submitted themselves to him, how it changed their life. Paul was a murderer. Paul went around killing God's people, thinking he's serving the Most High, but really was digging a grave for himself. But the Lord knew that he was sincere. And so once the Lord showed him what he was doing and who he was doing it to, he got his act together. So our people need to get their act together, right? God is going to give us a new heart of flesh, not a heart of stone. Some of our people have a heart of stone, and that's why they want the Gentiles dead. That's why they say only Israel could be saved. No, Israel, you got promises coming. The promises of being kings and priests are yours. The promises of you being leaders in his kingdom is for you. That whole book was written for you, Israel. And then Paul's writings were to the Gentiles saying, you know what? You can partake of the promises that came to us. But that whole book was written about his chosen people and his covenant people and his promises to them. You know, and the only thing different is Paul came in and said, you know what? There are other people of this flock. Just like Jesus said, there are other people of this flock. Right? There are other people who are not of this flock who belong to me. And that's those former heathen nations, those former Gentiles who have repented, who truly love the Lord. And when you have the Spirit of the Most High, you meet people who love him, and you can easily tell who they are. And all I can do is have love for those who love the Lord, because it is that strong. But there aren't that many. There's a lot of religious people, So let me end it with this. The reason that we don't attack the word Christian and Christianity like many of our brethren do is because you have no idea how much damage you are causing when you say that. Okay? You might be sincerely angry at the European Christian, but you have not made any clarifications on your stance. So let's say there's a little kid hearing that Christianity is bad, just like y'all say. They're hearing you say Christianity is of the devil. Or they hear you saying, or some unsaved adult is hearing that as well. And they see the words of the Messiah. They see the teachings of his apostles. They want what he got. And then they hear you say how Christianity is so bad. And so he said, well, let me go look at Christianity and see what they're talking about. Well, they said Jesus is God. They said Jesus died for my sins. They said that I'm going to be resurrected unto eternal life if I serve him. But they just said Christianity is a lie. But I read that in Christianity. So now that person, that kid, that adult who's unsaved, who was going to give their life to the Messiah, just heard you say that Christianity is a lie, and they looking at the teachings of Christianity that talk about Jesus being God, who died for your sins, who was the lamb slain from the foundation of the world, and all you got to do is believe and serve and have faith in him, and you just said that that's a lie. And so now they're like, oh, well, maybe that ain't the way. Because let's say they're Hebrew Israelite. They're going to say, well, I know I'm a Hebrew Israelite. But maybe those teachings are wrong because so-and-so said Christianity is bad. That's how they're going to hear it, because everyone knows what the teachings of Christianity are. So my question is, are you people who are attacking Christianity, are you denying the teachings of the Messiah? Are you denying the teachings of his apostles? If not, get it right. Clarify yourself. We say Eurocentric Christianity because Eurocentric Christianity promotes supremacy, and it does not promote love, and it does not promote serving Christ with a humble spirit, right? And their actions is never backed up, right? Their deeds do not back up their words. So we make a distinction, but that's why we don't say Christianity is wrong like many of you, because you all are tearing down the house that Christ built and don't realize it. Okay? I got to keep it real, fellas. Maybe this won't be popular with you all, but you need to understand when you open your mouth and say certain things, what people are hearing. Some people are hearing what you may not be meaning to say. Okay? So, this is a tough battle, right? And, everyone knows it's not easy. Everyone has to go through trials, and, serving the Most High is a challenge, and you have a lot of opposition. You have a lot of people that want to destroy you and take you down. And so, you're going to have people that talk bad about you and curse you. But, what motivated, one of the reasons, as I mentioned earlier, why we are doing what we're doing, because people ask for it, right? And so, the Lord put in my spirit, the parable of the talents, right? The 10 talents. And so, the guy with the 1 talent, he was like, Lord, I know you're a hard man. So I kept this to myself. I didn't want to risk anything. It's like, Lord, that it's a rough battle out there, but the Lord like, well, okay, you should have gave it to the banker and got me made a profit for me, right? The guy with 10 talents got me 10 more, but you can't give me 1 more. You can't produce you can't produce anything for me. Okay. We all need to be workers in his field. So you need to go read Matthew 25:14-30 and understand that applies to us who are hesitant about working in his field. Working in his field is not easy, and the enemy is out there, but God will protect us, right? And so that's why we're out here. We're out here to serve the Most High and serve his people. His people have been taken advantage of way too long. And so every time, like say some people, want to accuse us of asking for money and accuse us of oh, well, we don't ask for money and we get the Lord's work done. Well, how many people you reaching, bruh? You ain't doing too much, are you? Because you can't do it without some help, right? So, we got to deal with all this nonsense coming from all these different people and coming from all these crazy camp people. We just want to serve the Most High. We want to serve his people because we are his people, and we experience what y'all experience. We know how this world treats us. We know how much this world hates us. We never understood it before when we didn't know who we were. Right? Why these people hate us so much? Why they do this to us? I don't get it. Now you get it. Now we get it. And so now, because we get it, some of us get angry, but you got to temper your heart and you got to keep it humble and pliable to the will of the Most High. Right? Because look who's getting into the kingdom. It's going to be those loving, gentle people who love and serve the Most High, who obey his commandments, who love his son. Right? And so how you obey his commandments, right? The Lord told you, in love. Why? Because love fulfills the law, as scripture says. Why? Because when you love the Father with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself, all you do is want good for everybody. All you want to do is please the Most High. Right? So you fulfill the law. You don't even have to struggle. That's what that means. So, for those who want to keep supporting us, we're at patreon.com/Teotw, Teotw. And, if you want to discuss 2Esdras 7-9, meet us out there in the social network at teoministries.ning.com. So that's it. That's a wrap. Love you, Israel. Peace and blessings. Your captivity is ended.